should be back. Tell us if the mic is went back. Obviously, we want to be able to provide commentary. Don't go away. Yeah, stay with us because right now is a tenth game of our UD. The Messenger, a game that has been speedrun quite a lot. It came out last year, and it's a fantastic piece of platforming, just going fast through it. Feels awesome. It's a very nice game overall, very heavily inspired by Ninja Gaiden and all the 8-bit and 16-bit era, but it didn't fix the stuttering apparently. So what is happening to us?
Well, we'll do our best to fix it. I'm going to keep talking as if we're going to keep going, and then you can interrupt me otherwise. But yeah, the sense of flow you get in this game is unmatched by any other game, and this is a similar problem as something we've had before. So it's a little distressing that our previous solution to this problem did not work. Looks fine now. It's fixed. Just all of a sudden, as well. I heard some clicking maybe, so I think something was being done.
I've clicked everywhere, and now it's fixed because I'm in total control of the sound card and the machine we're streaming with. The setting is a little bit different today. We should be back to our weirder setting we're using for the second half of UD7 apparently, because it's so complicated having all those players play so many games at once, but we do try to provide lots of streams actually. We've went for maybe an average of 2 streams per week, doing lots of weird and fun stuff, and playing through the Messenger is clearly one of the better ones. But let's go. We Love UD is Fireman. Stifler is going to demonstrate us the cloud step, and his name actually means that he's tired and he's asking for help. Meanwhile, quick onlooker, and now how to cloud step, hitting anything from the enemies to projectiles to the lanterns on the background will give you an extra jump, and you'll be able to chain those together, get extra height, move quickly, and that's all the speedrun is about.
It is. I love the cloud step mechanic maybe more than some of the other stuff that gets introduced, but our ninja abilities are pretty limited for a little bit. As cool as the cloud step is, we are at the mercy of enemy projectiles are a hindrance for now. Very soon we'll pick up probably the best upgrade in the game, I think, and being able to not only slash at them, but cloud step off of them greatly opens up the number of possibilities you have. Then you start layering in some of the other things we'll see later on, the wingsuit, the rope dart, and your ability to platform and ninja around stages skyrockets. And it's the things you can do, the sense of flow between going from your rope dart to a wall jump to a cloud step is really special in this game.
So first 2 minutes were pretty much only the intro and the tutorial, and here we go. We are onto the first level, and everything is introduced more in depth. You are going to try to go as fast as you can, and there's no run button, so it's all about maintaining that left or right direction pressed for the entirety of the screen you're going through. But first we're going to go towards the shop. First place is Fireman here, going to buy their upgrades. We're going to get the one that allows you to destroy the projectiles by hitting them, giving you cloud step of it, and just clearing the screen overall is very, very important.
Very, very close between Fireman and Quick. Steffler a little bit behind. We don't have in-game timers up for all the players, so I can't quite check in on stream delay to see if they're perfectly synced up or not, but they must be pretty close, I imagine. The players went for some they got those upgrades. Refilling health here. There's a couple opportunities you have to refill health, which is a concern because you got this damage boost. Both Fireman and Kupik getting this. Steffler has the health, is lined up for it, is going for it, not quite able to find the particular position you need to land on in order to make it happen, and on the court as well, not even going to try.
The water section, you can swim in Ninja Gaiden. Apparently you're not going to die. Swimming is not so important in the Messenger because there's not much big sections in water, at least in the category we are playing through. It's going just to be gimmicky here and there. There is very little way to save time here, and one of the ways you can do that is by taking intentional damage. If you do spam the swim button and take damage near to the ceiling, you're going to continue your way, just forfeiting a little bit of HP. Spikes deal a ton of damage, actually. 3 HP is nothing to sneeze at, and if you do die and respawn at the checkpoint, you are spawning only with 3 HP, meaning that the next spikes are going to one-shot you. So it's all like HP, health, lives. It's all tied to a weird alchemy here, and you don't want to take too much damage. Oh wow, Fireman actually falling off that platform means that they're going to lose a lot of time here.
Yeah, having to wait a whole cycle for this platform. The sink on the left side of the screen was real for a long time, and then Fireman pulled ahead because Kupik dipped down to get some extra crystals in a water section, and now, because they've pulled very far ahead due to missing that platform here, actually Fireman now behind Steffler as well, and but still very close between those two. Kupik with a really nice screen there, using that platform that swings by to rise up on the left side of the screen is pretty difficult. Steffler's not quite going to make it here, so he's waiting for a projectile from the enemy, and barely not enough height to stick to the wall. Unfortunately, this is opportunity for Kupik to catch up and surpass. So our first, second, third has Fireman, Kupik, Steffler, with Onlooker not too far behind.
This is very, very close. The swings between the players are...
I do like the question in chat. Is it more straightforward or is it a Metroidvania? The first half of the game is straightforward, and then it opens up and becomes more of a Metroidvania. And I think it's actually the weaker part of the game. It seems better suited to be a one-shot in one direction rather than a sort of thing that you can traverse backwards and forwards multiple times. Also, the boss fights they come pretty regularly, and then they start to get really far apart. So I think it's got some pacing issues, but it's still absolutely worth playing. It's worth it alone just to hear some of the music sort of remixed in the second half.
I actually like the second part now that I've come into playing the Messenger more, just because once you finish like the first linear half, you kind of want to play more, and just replaying it sometimes doesn't quite cut it for a lot of players, except for speedrunners, because obviously that's what we do. So, it just gives you the opportunity to play more, and the way the NG Plus are introduced is pretty smart to get you to play through those more. Wow, Fireman actually misses the one cycle, dropping a lot of time on Stifler, and Kupik is actually way ahead now. So, it's a big setback for Fireman, but once again, Fireman has said during the first chance tournament that playing 10 games in a row so late in the evening actually got them super tired, and maybe we are going to see a little bit of that during that run.
That would certainly explain some of these mistakes from Fireman, a little bit uncharacteristic. Certainly the Messenger is a very difficult game to play quote unquote perfectly. Obviously little things will happen, but hitting even just the most basic route in this game consistently is difficult enough. But there's been some stuff from Fireman. Missing that platform cycle is pretty weird. So I wouldn't be surprised if fatigue was playing a role here, which makes it all the more impressive that Kupik and Steffler have been able to execute so cleanly thus far. Kupik in particular staying ahead of Steffler is pretty impressive. Fireman getting caught with the spikes there, but is still alive and is wisely waiting for this platform here.
Yeah, the cycles in the catacombs considered one of the harder wall to execute on, actually, because of all those precise movements and opportunities to die. So you do have to know exactly the risks you're taking when you're moving through here. one of the harder section here. Volker quick, slowly taking their time to dodge those moving spikes. Stifler is still half of a screen behind them.
Encore, looking at the little Corbel fellow there floating above a pile of mush that used to be a ninja. The first death here will count for more than your subsequent deaths. You have to get a little cutscene introducing this little guy who follows and starts eating all of your precious gems. And there will also be an additional cutscene later on. So, deaths already can cost you a lot depending on where it happens. But that first one with the two additional cutscenes really does hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really just like, salt added to the injury. It's just there to remind you how much you've lost, but that's how the game rolls. It's maybe not that friendly to speedrunners, especially considering the upcoming boss that has a tiny bit of RNG element to it. But Quick is probably going to get there first if everything goes fine in the next couple of screens. Those mages have random movement, so you want to control them as well as you can using your shurikens. Just one used here. Quick, by the way, their saved name here is they feel like they've missed a little bit the opportunity. They failed a little bit at their tournament. I kind of disagree because that was overall pretty good, and they can aim for close to 2,000 points, which is a fantastic score, but maybe not on par with what they wanted.
It's difficult. Speedrunners tend to be very negative about this sort of thing, so I take every opportunity I have to remind them to kind of have some perspective on exactly just what they've been able to accomplish throughout the course of the season. Certainly when you set expectations and you don't meet them, that can hurt, but it really is important to realize how good these guys are at these games, considering they've only had a couple months to learn all of them. When we first started, we saw a lot more mistakes, and we were a lot more even just like learning on ourselves as commentators. So we saw, like, as the season went on, we would start to get more and more critical about the littlest things, just because players were getting so good, and it was those little mistakes that were starting to matter so much. It really is just cannot be understated how impressive everyone is here. Quick almost recovering to get the quick kill, is going to be able to get up on top. It's not going to get as much damage out of it as if they had that first pass, though.
Yeah, and they kind of did not know how to react. They're losing a little even more time, sadly, here. That's sometimes that's how it happens. I think that mistake here is due purely to fatigue, to having to play through all those 10 games in a row. And yeah, speedrunning at that level, 10 games is a skill you see very rarely from any player. And it's just it's ridiculous that the UD ask those players to practice so much, and they still do it. So I don't know, maybe next time it's going to be even harder and longer, and nobody is going even to join because how ridiculous we'll get. We'll see. Onto Bamboo's Creek here. For some reason, I know. Fireman is playing on the French version, but the Quebec French version, and because Sabotage, the studio, is from Canada actually, but from Quebec, and so it's still French, but the wording is different, and I was confused on why.
Oh, yeah, that's I've been told the differences between Quebec French and France French can be alarmingly different. But thankfully, the language you play in doesn't affect the game too much here. Everyone's moving pretty well through Bamboo Creek ever since they got over some of their catacombs troubles. Encore having some catacombs troubles just now, dropping onto some spikes, can't get hit, using the shuriken to get rid of one of the projectiles that would maybe interfere with their jump. Nice safe play, which is exactly what they need since they're one hit away from death.
I think The Messenger is one of those games where going slowly and safely will actually sometimes hurt you more than it's safer for you. It's one of those games where you will try to play safe, but you will go slower and you will allow more projectiles or stuff to spawn on screen, making the situation even harder for you. And sometimes Onlooker here would have had a better time not using that shuriken earlier and just went on and killed the enemy later on with it. And it's hard to play safe, especially when you're speedrunning and you know exactly what you should be doing, and then something went wrong and everything else in the upcoming like a minute goes wrong.
Oh, Caprique gets the skip and
Nice.
the follow-up in Bamboo Creek. That's going to catch them up to Steffler just a little bit, who did not go for that skip. Fireman as well is also in this room, went the long way around on the platforms and is trying to get this skip now. Very, very difficult. Barely gets around that corner. Nice job from all three players. Steffler still in the lead. Onlooker has finally made it to the boss of the catacombs and has got up top, which is so important to dealing so much damage to this boss. And is immediately following the boss down to the platform to finish it off. Nice fight.
Oh no, Caprique had such a good bamboo streak here and dropped down on that final screen. So you're using the cloud step mechanic twice on each of those lanterns. Once to get a double jump, then you double jump while hitting, giving you the cloud step to get even more height, allowing you to skip the entire huge and slow elevator on that entire screen. Sadly, dropping down all the way to the bottom cost Caprique even more time, having trouble already to catch up to Steffler. So Caprique and Fireman are now very, very close together, and Steffler got the wingsuit first.
Wingsuit is, it's an okay upgrade. It lets you hold the jump button to float. If you're in a current of wind, you will go flying upwards. The cool thing about the wingsuit is that it unlocks the wingsuit attack upgrade, which is a way to attack while wingsuiting, but your attack like comes downwards quite a bit, as well as a little bit forwards, a little bit upwards, a little bit behind you. It's got a pretty weird hitbox, but it's incredibly useful, especially hitting things downwards. It propels you upwards when you hit with it, and so the number of options it opens up and your ability to move around, particularly above enemies, is it's a lot. So it's incredibly useful, and it just feels good to have. It's just very nice to be able to hit things directly below you.
Yeah, and since you can cloud step off that, you have ton more mobility options, and those come very handy, especially in the more vertical screens that are actually scattered everywhere in the game. The game goes in all weird directions, and going up feels already very, very good with all the cloud step and the movement and the overall fluidity the game has. But with that in your arsenal, you have even more things to do and to move with, which is fantastic. Those enemies and those fireballs, Stifler just destroy everything and play safe. You can go faster almost every single time you jump or move or slash at something. There's a way to save a frame or something. It's incredibly difficult to tell where to save time, and especially when you are at the skill level those players have. The world record is still about like a minute faster than the best UD time. I think it's Taker that has it, or Kodran, and it's at 31:40. You don't even know where to save time, and those sometimes you see like Stifler, Fireman, Caprique move through the screens, and it's hard to tell how you would go even faster than that.
Yeah, but someone has figured it out, and it's very, very impressive. The Messenger is such a long game with so much to do on every single screen that it's probably the one that is players are one of the ones that the players are furthest away from the world record in, understandably so, for those reasons. Maybe out there somewhere might be more, though, like 45 seconds in a game that's only 6 minutes long or whatever. That's a pretty long 45 seconds, so that might be the first pick. And Trackmania would have been also another contender if we didn't have some of the best Trackmania players already playing in the UD, so that closes the gap quite a bit. Steffler now, the first one into the boss fight of the Howling Caverns. We're going to be trying to count our hits carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now one more from the Shuriken from afar, so that we don't lose any time getting up here and getting as much damage as we can. That's going to enable us to do this in 2 cycles.
Nicely done for cycle. I kind of lost track. It's harder to count visually compared to when you're actually pressing the button yourself. But clearly, Stifler did not lose track. Even used this, the last shuriken here to ensure the one cycle as fast as they could. And going for 2 cycles is as well the safest way to go with that golem. They will do a damage through time. Just nice second phase by the way as well. So no problem for Stifler. And on the first phase, I don't know, Quick, the head is blinking quite a lot. I don't know if they missed. No, that was the first cycle. Onward to the second cycle. So it's Fireman very close together.
They entered the boss fight at just about the same time here. Quick a little bit ahead, just one head slapping section worth ahead here. Into the second phase here, getting a bunch of damage as soon as the boss spawns on the bottom of the screen is pretty nice, but letting the boss get away. Fireman using the shurikens to not let the boss get away, closing the gap between the two of them. Very, very well done.
Those were nice fights, but Stifler had the fastest one and already on the Shroomquill's marsh here. So now it's the good opportunity to demonstrate that the wingsuit goes as fast as just straight up running, which is a lot of platforming games that has a flying or hovering mechanic makes it so you go slower while doing that. But here you just can abuse whatever movement tech you want, and it's pretty useful and satisfying just to fly through all the screens, cloud stepping using the dive attack and moving onward as fast as you can. Those lanterns conveniently placed all the way allows you as well to do that. Dodging the ball spike here is very important, and cloud stepping off those fireballs. No! Stifler, what are you doing?
The wingsuit attack does not reach as far forwards as the regular slash, so that one came out and kind of caught him off guard a little bit. But does reach the bird there. In order to cloud step off of it, you need to be pretty precise with your slashes and your cloud steps in order to cross that distance. Fireman is going to be able to almost go across the top of the screen here. I don't think the optimal, I think you can probably get that lantern there on the first pass and just barely not have to stop, but it had to stop quite a bit there and lost a bit more time. Just Stifler pulling further ahead with some clean movement off of these mushrooms. Quick does get the cloud step immediately up onto the ledge. Fireman kills that bird, so it's going to have to wait for a projectile here. Thankfully, didn't pause too far away from the fireball because you don't want to be sitting waiting for a fireball that's not going to come.
Quillshroom Marsh is probably the place where you skip most checkpoints, so if you do die, you lose even more time due to the structure of the screens, and you really want to be careful. Also, if you do die before the boss at the end of that world, you will have an extra dialogues and cutscene after the boss dies. So many reasons to never die in any place, but especially in Quillshroom Marsh, in the Messenger. Stifler finally getting the checkpoint here. I don't know why checkpoints are getting me so nervous today, but after VVV and after 9 other games, it is, I don't want to see anybody die and just move on as fast as they can. Onlyker enters the Golem boss fight here and is going to do exactly the same thing as the other 3 players we have seen so far, going for 2 cycles using the Shuriken after for the 8th hit on the core.
I didn't quite count the hits. Yeah, Onlyker is actually waiting a little bit to get 2 more. Playing it very safe, really wants to make sure that they do this in 2. A slow 2 cycle is going to be faster than a fast 3 cycles, so perhaps cutting their losses to make sure that they execute on that trick. Stifler is in the boss fight, getting up to the top, but not knocking them down, so is going to have to wait out this really long time-wasting attack here.
They got the hit, though. I'm surprised. Maybe there was just a couple of frames too early. Usually a hit when the boss is hanging on those rings is enough to knock them down immediately, skipping the attack and saving you a lot of time. Nice manipulation, and they know the boss is already dead.
Yep, just need 1 more hit there. The shuriken might as well do it from afar so you can be right next to the door when it opens. and that was your opportunity for the little cutscene that you'd rather not see in a speedrun. Krupupik also getting this time-wasting attack. We'll see how it goes for Fireman. Opportunity to catch up. These two have been battling back and forth. We're absolutely tied to the point at multiple points, I think, during this tournament. Definitely if you count when they all start at 0. But as you can see here, is getting this attack here. So opportunity lost to make up some ground. We'll see. Krupupik is getting the second time, though, so there is another opportunity to make up some ground.
This is a lot of time lost on Krupupik. The second attack is even slower. You have to deal with the cacti here, and Fireman is going to have the exact same thing. So yeah, Stifler recovered nicely from missing the first attack, but it's not so easy, because you lose a ton of opportunities to hit the boss, and those attack triggers depending on the boss HP. So very well done by Stifler recovering from that mistake, and Krupupik and Fireman are still going to be very close together. At least they didn't die so far, so very clean looking run. But yeah, Stifler is just about a minute faster now.
Alnicore dipping into the shop in Quillstream actually almost found a secret path for a power seal. Not our concern here in this category, which is the no out of bounds 8-bit category, by the way. So if you know what that means, then now you are nodding sagely. If you don't know what that means, it's just the first half of the game, and we're not going to be able to clip out of bounds. It's surprisingly easy to do in this game. You just kind of jump at a corner in a particular way. I did it totally accidentally, soft locking myself while I was trying to play this game. So we have seen players do not quite out of bounds, but do things that act on the same principle in order to like get inside crushers and things. And so it is not much of a concern that players will accidentally go against the rules of the category. We've seen that happen in VVV as well, clipping through things.
Sometimes it's so easy. I can name a bunch of players that I know, if they played through the messenger for the first time, totally went and found that like intentionally. Like, some players are very good at finding glitches and tricks, and on the messenger it's not even that satisfying, considering how easy it is to just get stuck in a corner, mash your jump and all your buttons, and eventually you will clip through. Nice looking crags by Stifler. And just did not stop for the entire thing, and already are at the boss. You get the hook, the rope dart, and now all your movement got even harder and more intense. But at least on the bosses, you can just mash the hook and the sword slashes, and you will just get the most free and straightforward fights ever.
Yeah, it really is. Not much to it here. The bread guy, of course, needs to be hit from behind, but you can use the rope dart, the invincibility frames on the attack afterwards to just kind of drift through the boss. And you don't have to hit him from behind while he's doing one of these special attacks here. But that attack did finish, so Stifler had to sort of course correct, following him to the left side of the screen, actually hitting him while on the wall. The rope dart will not pull you off of the wall, I guess, is what happened there. But finally getting the last few hits, you need that sort of transition to happen in order to actually trigger the end of the fight. So sometimes the boss is long dead and you're just sitting there waiting for him to realize that he's actually dead.
Oh, Fireman having a difficult screen here, and Krupupik already entered the fight. That fight is one of the very few places in the game where, in the speedrun, where RNG matters. But when the two Cole and Ossis go down to the ground and do like a combined attack, you can hit both of them at the same time, doubling effectively your DPS. So you kind of want those specific attacks, but overall it doesn't matter too much. Plus, sometimes they will switch more often, and when they switch, they get harder to hit. So it's all down to your ability to mash. But Krupupik here should be done. One special attack left, and the next switch will give them the kill. The glacial pick for Stifler on the top right corner is the shorter walled and also super vertical one, so you just want to move using your rope darts and all your combined attack actually with the dive attack on all those lanterns to jump. Ooh, but be very mindful because dropping a jump will most likely hurt you quite a bit or kill you because a lot of those pits are instant death.
It looked like Fireman just missed one of the cycles on Colossus, and Zeus is getting one of those switches from one to the other. When you see that they're low on health, but they don't die, I'm probably going to kill them and finish them off very shortly, and then have to wait before the next time for them to transition. But is not too far behind Week, who is actually not too far behind Steffler, all things considered. So looks like we're going to get a pretty strong finish here from these players. We can now finally hear the Glacial Peak music, which might be my favorite.
I don't know if stream can hear us all right. Oh no, Onlooker dies here. But apparently the tech issues are getting worse. So maybe we are struggling on both like the overall broadcaster but the commentary. And it's at least the end of our decathlon. It's going to be fixed for Saturday's broadcast, and Fireman is moving as quickly as they can through those platforms, but Stifler is still ahead, going to enter the Tower of Time first, and just at the end of that screen, we're going to have a nice long cutscene, and then the final gauntlet. Tower of Time is it's definitely one of the harder world from the entire game, and it's all like a trial with laser that deals an insane amount of damage, and Olniker taking a beat down from that boulder and chain here. Tower of Time is getting ready, but Stifler is apparently clearly behind PB there.
And one of my favorite screens with Prags, we were able to chain together multiple rope darts to get a little bit further ahead with each one. It's not going to be going for the skip up in the middle of those two gaps there. Very, very close between Capriquick and Fireman still. Late into the Glacial Peaks, Steffler here is about to start the gauntlet of the Tower of Time. It is a gauntlet, though. It should be the Gauntlet of Time. Very, very mean, punishing sections with crushers. The lasers do even more damage than spikes, all the way up to 4, so you can survive one of them, and indeed, players might be taking a damage boost. Fireman dies here. I'm not sure where the checkpoint is, but this is definitely a big setback here.
Olniker still on the crags, halfway through the world. Meanwhile, Stifler is waiting for that platform to slowly block the lasers. The lasers deal 4 damage per hit, so you cannot take almost any at all. Going for a nice grappling hook here, and those crystals will allow you to get those lasers out of the way. One very difficult room here, ton of lasers, plus that mage that will try to kill you and actually hit Stifler. Stifler considered maybe going through that laser and decided otherwise. I think that was a smart move.
Wizards here being very annoying. Almost had a projectile ready to hit Stifler as soon as it came out of the crystal. Did get hit by that wizard there, though. The checkpoint is not going to refill you above 3 health, so you're not going to be able to do the damage boost off of the laser if you don't get a health refill somewhere. Fireman now summoning the Tower of Time is dropped back after that death in Glacial Peak, unfortunately, so Kerpeek is going to be firmly in second with not much time left for the players to try to jump ahead of the others. It looks like this would very likely be our first, second, and third, fourth as it stands, but they're not so far apart that something couldn't happen and change this up.
Stifler is almost done with the Tower of Time. Sound is lagging. Tell us if you'd rather like not providing commentary. Like, I don't know how bad it is. But
Capriquick did die, actually, so it's dropping back a little bit here. The Tower Time rooms all kind of blend together a little bit for me, so I have trouble parsing just how much time was lost there, but is still ahead of Fireman. It's still behind Capriquic, or Steffler rather, who is most of the way done the tower now. Alnicore has been in the crags for a while, currently has Corbel following them, so died at least somewhat recently. Another fun screen, lots of opportunities to rope dart and catch up further on the screen.
For a while, I was like, I don't know, 50% sure that Fireman would clip through this platform here. And Oliver died again. Crowball is back there, so it's not a good sign. Crowball disappears after a set amount of time. It's always hard to assess, but when you die in the Tower of Time, it's very likely you will die again because you do not respawn with so many HP. A nice dodges by Fireman on those mages hits, and Onlooker is finally at the Colin Os's boss fight, while Stifler is on one of the final rooms here. You have a nice trick. You will hit the crystal here from like the other side of the wall, and Stifler should be at the golem very shortly. The sub 34 mark is going to be very hard to land, but the sub 36, meaning above 200 point score they got on all other 9 games, is most likely to be seen.
Final ride on the platform here for Steffler, slashing away just for the fun of it. Fireman approaching the drop here, has not enough health to do the damage boost. Kerpikwick was almost there, but took damage from a laser on the way down, actually. They were very close to it, and I guess they might have just released the jump button for just a little bit, enough to drop further down and touch the laser, so didn't die, thankfully, because they had that health that they were hoping to use to take a damage boost. Instead, kept them alive, which I'm sure they'll be totally happy with. Steffler in the boss fight now, using the rope darts, the cloud steps, to stay up and dealing damage to the boss rather than touching the floor. The boss is repeatedly going to try to clap you away, and that means the boss is not going to be doing whatever stupid time-wasting attack that you don't want them to do. So boss has got to be dead soon, right? Any moment now. So much health does this golem have?
Yeah, it's...
Okay.
Oh, finally. All right. 34-28 is Stifler PB. Do remember that the time Stifler got is about 8 minutes faster than Oliker's PB, just to put things in perspective. UD is all about like learning and getting into speedrunning, so we do have players with various goals, and Oliker is a newer runner that dies again, sadly, but it's still impressive to get there and be able to actually respect and follow the times we've set up as limits for all those games. It's not so easy. But it's been already 4 hours and a half. We are through that decathlon. Stifler has beaten it, getting over 200 points on every single game. Capricorn and Fireman are close behind.
Yeah, this is Omnicore's weakest game. When you try to learn to speedrun 10 games in a 3-month period, it's very easy to have some blind spots. So it is among the best at some of our other games we played today, but is going to be taking a hit on the messenger. Just isn't quite there yet. Capriquick is on the final boss, just a little bit ahead of Fireman. They've been so close to each other the entire tournament. We'll see if Capriquick is able to come out on top here. Has done, I don't know, maybe about half the damage of the boss fight so far. Doing a really good job of using the invincibility frames from the rope dart. Gets the final hit. GG.
I don't remember what Capriquick's PB is, but...
In the messenger, it is 3609.
So, probably PB or not far off, right? We'll see what their final time is. Should be submitted already. And it's going to be 3604.
5-second PB.
And just barely off 36 minutes. Just, for the, giggles, just being able to...
Then you can say sub 36.
Yeah, exactly. It's...
Instead of almost sub 36. Fireman as well now finishing. Fireman's PB was 3640, so this is also probably close.
Oh, wow, recovered from that. Honestly, they dropped down so low and got the correct reaction here. That was insane. But timer is ticking, and Fireman finishes at 36:46. 42 seconds behind Quick. That's going to be about, I don't know, 3-4 points.
And 6 seconds off of PB, which is, I mean, compared to Quick who just beat their PB, then you're like, but, getting 6 seconds within your literal best ever during your grand finals qualification tournament, you got to be pretty happy about that run.
Yeah, I don't know how that compares to. Oh no, Onlooker dies again. So Fireman race PBs apparently on their play card are at 2,009 points. They just scored above 2,020 points, so I guess they're pretty happy with that. I don't know, we'll ask them probably on Discord, but they at least over 2,000 points, I think should qualify you for grand finals. I'm not 100% sure. It's very hard to tell. We have over 20 players that registers PB scoring over 2,000 points, so it's not most definitely sure, but it's still, even if it's probably the UD where it's easiest, it's still pretty difficult as an objective.
Absolutely. It was a goal I set for myself to get 2,000 across all the games, and I've been very slow to learn out there somewhere, so I'm not there yet. I will probably also need to go back and learn the messenger as well. My PB is not much better than Onlicore's. I've not sat down and practiced, the room-to-room strats. I'm half making things up as I go. But I think I could get there, grinding out each time to get 2,000s. Could I then go and do all of those games all in a row and get 2,000 points? Probably not. Probably not. Definitely not if I were to just try to do it right now, for sure. But even with some practice, I don't know if I could get there. It's an impressive feat. It will be crazy if it's not impressive enough to qualify for grand finals, but it could just be we have that many strong runners.
Yeah, that's it's possible. I mean, I wish Fireman gets to grand finals for sure, and they practiced a lot, so they do deserve it. But so do so many. And now I'm like, why did we choose like only 16 players for grand finals? We should have had more than that. But it's always the trade with tourneys. We want to see all those players to get there. But we're going to see Onlooker's final run through the Tower of Time. But Onlooker has to play through 2 games. I guess not tonight because that would be like maybe a bit too much, but they will find the time to resubmit a correct rack and out there somewhere run, so they can like enter that leaderboard nicely. We'll do have like an admin to check that out and have them recording a correct run, because out there somewhere that was like 4 hours ago, but do remember that it did not go as you wanted the game to run.
Yeah.
So it's
that was weird. I've never seen that kind of particular, like the fact that the game was going slower. We thought maybe the stream was going slower, but then the boss was going
that
was super weird.
It was the only thing that moved at like the correct speed. Like, this is the ultimate like power move. Everything is slowed down except the boss. Like, it's incredible.
And then Rack, of course, was just straight up crashing. So I suppose before they get to do those 2 runs, they need to resolve those technical difficulties. So certainly we understand the woes that is dealing with this stuff. Thank you everyone for sticking with us here at the end. Things will very likely be better on Saturday for the rest of the players who are going to try to qualify for grand finals. Onlicore, I don't know if he's going to get there. There's so many players that we're talking about a 2,000 point run not quite being enough. So the chances of Onlicore getting, oh my goodness, the spikes and the crush, that is very dead.
What killed them? Being spiked?
Well, I'm not sure. The invincibility might have run out. I'm not sure.
Does it matter? No, it doesn't. But that room is the timings are a little bit weird, and you do have to hit that pink crystal. Nope, that has happened. Okay. Once again, those deaths here are just probably due to pure, being tired, having run through 9 other games. Certainly does not help in those situations. He got crushed. Okay, Taker knows the answer.
All right, now we know those spikes are there. Yeah, that was probably just like a memory thing, right? Those spikes, you don't get time to see those spikes before they're there, so it's you do need to kind of remember that they're there ahead of time. And when you're late into 10-game marathon decathlon run here, that's exactly the kind of thing that can slip your mind at just the wrong time. Moving on now, using the shurikens in a clever way to hit the switch from as far as possible, as well as hitting some of these blocks from afar, has made the cycle here on the platform. Has 4 health, so cannot afford to get hit by the lasers. We will cross our fingers that they also realize
that
this.
was a little bit sketchy, but they got there. Plus, okay, getting the checkpoint is a smart idea. So yeah, we do have some tech issues. Don't worry, you know what will be resolved. Tech issues on Saturday at 11 a.m. when the other runners do join all the other players. So do join us if you want to see how well Fireman, Quick, Stifler, Olniker, and Astrom are going to rank on the complete leaderboard. But also something that's totally going to be awesome and totally not laggy is coming up in 15 minutes is the Super Metroid Prodigy tournament.
That's right. We'll pretty surely be out of here before then, so we will not be bumping that off the schedule or anything. But that is a pretty cool thing, featuring Super Metroid runners whose PBs are not lower than 50 minutes. So you're seeing the up-and-coming runners, the future superstars. Everyone's got to start somewhere. I saw a clip of Siglemic was streaming and was about to join a race. And he looks over and had his chat in the corner, and he sees like someone has joined the race, and it was like him versus someone else who was one of the best Mario runners, and he's like, "Who's this guy, Cheese? What are you doing? This is the Battle of the Titans. You can't get out of here." And then of course, Cheese would go on to hold the world record in many categories for a long time. So everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and to be honest, speedrunning is fairly accessible and pretty easy. If you pour the time in, you will get strong enough. If you have like the motivation and sometimes the just luck of being able to get there. But it's you don't want to put your chances, and sometimes the tournaments can be a bit intimidating. I know that with UD, some of the players are like, I don't want to play or race against those superstars that have won UDs or have world records on state games and stuff like that. But Taker was on the Ultimate Finals in UD3. He's a pretty strong runner, and finished like in 4th place 2 years ago, and now is totally crushing the competition to the point where almost the question now is who's going to be second in UD7.
Steffler has recently shot up the leaderboards to take second. Falling down a little bit here. Had a chance to get back up. Has another one here. Didn't quite land on top and is not going to be able to catch a ride on the back of the hand there. So we're going to have to deal with some attack. It's going to be the necklace. I don't know what it is, but it's nice to have it out of the way, actually. That's one of the nicer attacks that you can have while you're stuck at the bottom. And it's settled into the rhythm here with the rope dart. We'll see if we can keep it.
It's not so easy, to be honest. I have troubles getting that. Yeah, exactly for that reason. Sometimes you will get your rope dart out too early, and mashing your entire controller, hitting the start button doesn't help probably. But it's not easy. The timing is way tighter than on the Colo and Osis. So nicely done by Olniker. Having some troubles, but probably very close to PB actually. 45-29. So we'll get the final score for everybody on stream, and we'll be good to go. Stifler, Fireman, Quick, Olniker, and Astrom have done their best. Astrom, I think, it could not race on minutes, but did not want to compete on the rack and Mega Man, so that was an 8 runs decathlon for them. Olniker has yet to submit their times, and we'll have the complete story. But the battle between Quick and Fireman was intense. Fireman comes on top, 10 points better than their practice decathlon this week.
And 22 points better than Quick, securing second place for now. We're going to have a whole host of other runners competing in the same tournament here. These times are going to get added to the one that happens Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be everyone's last chance to qualify. So Steffler, Fireman, Kaprivik, Alniker, Astrom, their times are here on the board. They're basically done. They just have to wait and bite their nails as a number of other players take their shot at these times. We're going to grab our top 10, and they will all qualify for the grand finals event for the Ultimate Decathlon Season 7.
It's going to be intense. So do place your bets. Are Feynman and or Kerpik going to make it? Stifler is most definitely very well placed at 2083. It's going to be awesome. Sorry for the technical difficulties once again. Thanks for sticking with us. It's going to be resolved on Saturday, I do hope, for sure. And stay around for Super Metroid Prodigy Tournament happening in 10 minutes. But you do also have in an hour and 10 minutes some all-TTPR, the team league tournament actually. So teams battling through the randomizer, and later on tonight some Final Fantasy 1. Some more SM Prodigy Tournament, some Zelda 1 plus Metroid 1 randomizer if the multi-game formats do pleases you, and all the information on !schedule, obviously. So see you on Saturday. I hope it's on the morning if you're on the East Coast, but it's going to be the correct time to grab, speedrun. Breakfast and speedrun is a new concept. So we'll see you then.